He probably wouldn't do it
God's
again.
honor. He'd probably be like, great, one more video I don't have to watch.
Yeah.
Okay. It's live. All right, number 1, identify the behavior. So basically she's worried about, I guess, I don't know if it's a she or he, but I'm going to go with she. She's worried about having her client play volleyball because he's HIV positive. So the behavior is do or do not have him participate in volleyball. I think that's basically it.
So why this is professionally relevant is because him being HIV positive, if like anything were to like get contaminated between him and other players, like they become HIV positive. Although there's like 2 ways. You're either like too cautious and you could like discriminate, or you're not cautious enough and someone else becomes HIV positive. Although depending on volleyball can be like sort of a more individualized sport because there's not like collisions as much, unless it's like with the floor or something. But with that, like professionally relevant is like how do you make it so that this person can participate safely. That's why it's professionally relevant.
Okay. Perfect. So then for differentiate personal and or professional values and ideals. I mean, anything you do, he could get cut and someone could get contaminated. And so it's kind of, I think, a personal choice. Like, I don't know. I think it's kind of like, well, I personally think that it's unsafe for him to play volleyball. That's kind of her choice. I mean, you can adapt it in a different way or anything like that. And so you kind of have to differentiate. Is this my personal belief that he shouldn't play volleyball with his friends because he's HIV positive, or is that my professional? Like, am I making this judgment on?
You're cutting out, Julia. Uh-oh. Oh, okay.
Did you hear anything I just said, or did it cut all of it out?
I think we lost you at her deciding whether it's her personal or professional values that's determining this decision.
Yeah, so I think professionally, like Rachel said, you need to determine, like, is it really unsafe for other people? Is it safe for my client? Because like it says at the beginning of the case study, well, it's gone now. So it said something like they have a right to participate in all activities. Or like, is it her personal or personal beliefs? Like, well, yeah, I kind of already explained that. So I'm just going in a circle now.
No, okay. Okay, so kind of building on that, there's a lot of legal duties. I'm hearing a lot of background noise. Okay, that's better. So legally, like you said, they have a right to participate and not be discriminated against because of their illness. But you also have, a responsibility to the other participants if they end up getting HIV because this other person participated, then that opens a whole new can of worms, you know. Depending on whatever, I don't know if that would even be included in the waiver, but depending on what waivers they signed, whether that covers it, or, you know, you could be liable for them getting it. But so correct me if I'm wrong, HIV, getting AIDS, like, wouldn't you have to cross-contaminate, like, bodily fluids?
Or blood.
Yeah, I just looked it up too. It says it's spread only through body fluids. These fluids are blood, semen, preseminal fluids, rectal fluids, vaginal fluids, and breast milk.
Okay.
So the only thing he's going to come in contact with is maybe blood, and that's
and that's
not very likely.
Any activity that you do, basically.
So the chances of him, like, maybe I think one way she could help make this decision is look back on incident reports in their facility that have corresponded with volleyball and anything that, like, is blood related, and see how often that actually occurs. So the likelihood of him infecting someone may or may not, depending on what those say, could be really low. And so if that was the case, then I think legally she would be okay to let him play if the chances of him infecting someone were relatively low and she had documentation to back her up on her decision, if that makes sense.
So legally she has to like go through and make sure that she's like checking off all her research and doing all the right things to make sure she's running a proper facility.
Yeah. Okay, so that's my legal skill.
So ethical obligations.
So I guess ethically, like, she has an ethical obligation to both the participants as well as this client who has HIV. Like, ethically, she can't discriminate. I don't think she can discriminate against him because he's HIV positive and be like, oh, well, you can't play volleyball because you have HIV. Like we talked about earlier, like, what are the actual chances of, like, having an injury that involves blood? And if there is blood, like, what are the chances that other people are actually going to come in contact with him? Like, there should, I would imagine the facility has protocols in place to take care of injuries, and, like, they're going to be safe with how they handle injuries. So I guess ethically, I don't know, I just think about this particular client. Ethically, she can't tell, and legally, she can't tell any of the participants that he has HIV. That just breaks HIPAA laws. And so I think ethically, I don't know. I feel like the ethics kind of tie into the legal, so I'm crossing lines, but she has ethical obligations to protect those who are participating, but also protect the client who is HIV positive.
So true. So what do you guys think she should do?
So I was just looking in the standards of practice under risk management, and it just, I mean, there's like tons on policy and procedure, blah, 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 blah. But I think she first should check what her policy and procedure is for that kind of situation, if it's in the handbook. If not, she needs to go to her supervisors and like kind of tell them the situation. And if like ultimately she's the one to make the choice, then she needs to decide like, okay, what do I need to do to prevent an accident? Maybe adjust the activity in a certain way to mitigate risk, or like, you know, do it so like nobody crosses outside of their own square, kind of a thing, so that like he's kind of in his own little square, not touching anybody else or whatever. Like, you can adapt the activity that way. And then if something does happen, like, what's the response? Like, kind of brief everybody beforehand, like, hey, if someone on the floor starts bleeding, the game stops, everybody goes, and like nobody touches it, nobody and that could be like the standard for everybody, just so that you're not singling out one person, but like, this is what we're gonna do. If someone starts bleeding, like, the game's over for a second until we get it all cleaned up, and make sure you have the right equipment to clean it up with. That would be what I would say.
I
That's a
wonder
really good idea.
for HIV positive, because like there's a thing where you have to tell your partner like that you're HIV positive. I wonder if there's like a obligation to tell someone like if they may come in contact with like you in like a physical way or something like that. And if that is necessary, like the client has the choice to either tell like the group that yes, I have this and this is a possibility, and then it's the other participant's choice whether to be involved or not. And I don't know how much exclusion would come from something like that, or if that is like actually legal. But like allowing the others to know, or allowing it to be the choice of the participant to see if that information comes out. Like, I don't know, it could be that those people are now like bound in contract saying that they can't say anything, but that like for their own personal safety, they have to know that kind of information. And I don't know how the other person, like how the like client would feel about that, or if that's like that probably goes into like legal documentation. But
Well, I wonder
like,
if you could leave it broad, like tell the entire group, like there's one member of this team that is HIV positive. Like, if you have a problem with it, come talk to us. Instead of like,
So I think it would just,
you know.
yeah, I think it would just be the therapist's job to research like what the rights of this individual are concerning HIV positive, and what the rights of other people that may come in contact in this facility are with someone with HIV. So knowing, you know, where HIPAA stands on that thing, or, you know, so if you can tell them, if you can't tell them, and so really just knowing people's rights on that kind of situation, 'cause it's kind of tricky. But I really liked your idea of the plan to say like don't touch the blood as a overall, like maybe in all activities, so that it doesn't single people out and things like that. I thought that was a really good idea.
Yeah, I did too. I don't think you could. Well, like you were saying earlier, Rachel, about the client, you know, maybe letting people know about the HIV positive. The thing is, like, the client would have to openly decide to tell that to people.
Obviously, like the therapist,
Yeah,
it would be like the client's choice
exactly.
whether they're willing to disclose that information or not.
Yeah,
like,
but I like
just do that.
Exactly. And so I like the just having a general policy that no matter what, if there is blood in any activity, whether it's volleyball or any activity, if there's ever blood,
you don't
know, participants don't touch, don't help. Like, that is going to be the therapist's job, who wear gloves, take the proper precautions.
I think, you'd also have to have someone like medically on staff who's prepared to deal with those situations and can be called like as soon as something like that happens to deal with it properly so it doesn't spread. Because like that's what I'd be worried about, is like the spread of it, because people are unprepared for it, or like don't know how to, because like as a therapist you probably aren't like certified to be able to deal with like HIV positive blood. Like, you could do something that could be wrong, but if you're certified in that, or if someone else is, then you're able to like best deal with the situation.
Yeah, all good points. So I'm gonna recap. So we think that he should participate, but that there should be protocols put in place before anyone with HIV positive blood participates in any activity to safeguard the other people, research rights, so that you can respect everyone's rights, but those protocols should be in place. Correct?
Good. Yeah.
That's good.
I looked up HIPAA too, and it just says kind of the same thing you guys were saying. It's just like under no circumstances can you share that information. So I feel
Okay.
like staying
Good to
away from blood could be a pretty standard protocol for any activity. So you could easily add that into like a waiver or something for a
Yeah.
person to stay away from it and be safe doing that. I don't think you would single anybody out.
Yeah, I'm thinking, like, the more I think about it, like, any facility should have a protocol on injury and containment, because really anywhere, you never can truly know if someone is HIV positive, and there should always be a protocol with blood involved to safeguard other people. So I don't feel like it's a matter of an injustice to him or other participants. It's really like he should be able to participate because there should be protocols to protect him and others in this type of thing. That makes sense.
I agree.
Okay. All right. I think we've covered it all. And I think we've passed the allotted time that we must converse. So,
Cool.
all right. I will send this in. Y'all have a good night.
Okay, you too. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.